Teachers would call his name twice, thinking he didn't hear. Friends would tease him, believing he had nothing to say. Relatives labeled him the thinker who never talks. In a world that worshipped noise, Armaan carried silence like a personality trait. But deep inside, his mind was anything but silent. His thoughts were skyscrapers. His imagination was a universe under construction. He didn't dream of small success. He visualized boardrooms, airports, global conversations, and numbers that ended in millions. Yet none of it ever left his lips, because Armaan believed the power of silence. Armaan was born in a small town where voices were louder than dreams. The market was noisy, people were expressive, emotions were public, and opinions were announced like headlines. But Armaan, he was different. From childhood, he rarely spoke. Big futures don't need announcements. They need preparation. While others spent time talking about their potential, Armaan spent time building his. He read biographies of billionaires. He studied the psychology of influence. He learned the language of business, body language, negotiation, and observation. He even practiced English every night by watching videos with subtitles, whispering sentences in front of the mirror. Silence is my strength. Listening is my education. Still, the world outside misunderstood him. A neighbor once said to his father, "Your son doesn't talk. How will he survive in this world?" His father smiled calmly and replied, "He will survive by understanding the world before speaking to it." Armaan overheard that. He didn't react, but he stored it. Silence made him look weak, but silence also made him unreadable. And unreadable people can't be manipulated, intimidated, or controlled. That was his first hidden advantage.
A mind that observes everything. At 16, Armaan noticed how people behaved differently around different levels of wealth. Poor environments created loud reactions. Rich environments created quiet decisions. Successful people didn't speak emotionally, they spoke strategically. So Armaan created a rule for himself. I will speak only when my words are worth more than silence. That rule shaped him more than school ever did. He could sit in a conversation without contributing a sentence, yet leave knowing everyone's personality, intention, insecurity, ambition, and negotiation style. Not because he judged, but because he listened. Listening was not passive to him. It was data collection. One evening, sitting at a chai stall, he watched a group of young men loudly arguing about starting a business. They spoke with passion, volume, excitement, but no plan, no execution, no clarity, just words. Armaan whispered to himself, "They are starting a conversation. I will start a company." Silently. The decision that changed his life. One night, Armaan sat on the rooftop. The sky was loud with stars. The town below was loud with people, but Armaan was loud with certainty. He said softly, "I need to go where silence has value." Not long after, he began saving money. He didn't save to buy clothes, gadgets, or status. He saved to buy exposure, because Armaan knew something rare for his age. Environment teaches faster than advice. If he wanted to become someone who understood millionaires, he needed to sit near them, observe them, hear them, and decode them, not through books, through proximity. Entering the expensive world. After months of saving, he traveled to the biggest city nearby. Tall buildings, expensive cars, designer billboards, elite cafes, and neighborhoods where one apartment cost more than his entire village. Most teenagers would take photos. Armaan took notes. He walked through car showrooms not to touch the cars, but to touch the mindset of the people buying them. He sat in malls not to shop, but to observe shoppers. He watched security guards, CEOs, waiters, investors, families, couples, salesmen, managers, and learned something silently. Power is not in speaking. It is in behaving like you don't need to prove anything. That's how wealthy people behaved. They didn't need validation. Their silence already carried identity. The restaurant. Finally, Armaan entered the restaurant he had imagined for months. The place smelled like success. Leather seats, soft music, low voices, calm discussions,
expensive menus, and a level of silence that felt intentional, not accidental. He sat near the window. He ordered the cheapest dish, not to save money, but to avoid distraction. He didn't want to eat. He wanted to experience the room. Then it happened. The millionaire. A man entered the restaurant with calm steps. Not slow, not fast, just controlled. He wore a tailored black suit and a silver watch that whispered wealth instead of screaming it. He sat at the table beside Armaan. He didn't speak to anyone, yet everyone respected his presence. That was Armaan's first lesson before the lesson even began. True power doesn't enter loudly, it enters noticeably. The man received a phone call. He answered with only 2 words first. "I'm listening." Then he spoke. His sentences were short, precise, heavy with confidence, light with emotion. He talked about losing his first company at 22, building a second one from a single laptop, learning more from listening than leading, reading people faster than contracts, investing in ideas, not noise, making decisions that looked risky but were researched silently. Armaan listened like the world was giving him subtitles to success, the first exchange. After the call ended, the man turned slightly toward Armaan and smiled. "You've been quiet for a long time," he said. Armaan smiled back and replied softly, "Because I'm learning from someone who speaks only when it matters." The man raised an eyebrow gently, impressed. "What's your name, young man?" "Armaan." "And what do you do?" "I listen." The millionaire laughed softly. "Listening is not a profession," Armaan replied. "For most people it isn't. For me, it's training." Silence fell between them, but not the awkward kind, the respectful kind. The millionaire said, "Sit with me." Armaan stood and sat at his table.
The millionaire's lesson. The man introduced himself. "I'm Raza. I built wealth not by talking, but by studying the world quietly." Then he said words that Armaan would remember forever. "Silence is not the absence of a voice. It is the presence of control." Raza continued, "Most people speak to be heard. Smart people speak to be understood. Most people react to life. Winners respond to it. Most people listen to reply. Legends listen to decode." Armaan asked nothing. He interrupted nothing. He simply absorbed. Raza said, "You know why silence is powerful." Armaan waited. Raza answered his own question. "Because silence gives you time to think. Thinking gives you time to plan. Planning gives you time to win. And winning makes the noise for you." Then he gave Armaan a challenge. For 1 year, practice intentional silence. Don't try to impress anyone with words. Impress yourself with growth. Return to me when your silence has shaped your voice. Armaan nodded. No excitement, no overreaction, just acceptance. That nod carried destiny. The 1-year transformation. Armaan left the restaurant still silent, but upgraded internally. The next 365 days were not about staying quiet. They were about staying disciplined. He visited new places regularly. Elite cafes, business hubs, bookstores filled with thinkers, malls filled with buyers, neighborhoods filled with achievers, offices filled with conversations that shaped companies. He didn't speak much there either, but his notebook did. Every night he wrote lessons like, "Silence helps me control emotions. Listening helps me read people. Observation helps me find opportunity. Talking less helps me think bigger." He watched how millionaires treated waiters, how CEOs walked, how investors discussed ideas, how confident people negotiated, how powerful people used silence even in conversation. Silence was becoming his signature, not his limitation.